Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, guys. Who's getting excited for the comic to come out? And I'm just wondering if we have anybody here that's really interested in the storyline at all, or are people here more wondering about the technicals of the project?
Well, I mean,
I
I
know.
don't know if I don't know.
I can't. I keep guessing what the story is going to end up to be. I have my ideas, and I know what we talked about, but I can't stop creating my own characters in my head, like wishful ones, and then different scenarios. So I'm really excited about that. And with the conversations that we had, yeah, the tokenomics. This is gonna be great. I'm really excited. I'm glad that you guys are here to hear how this is all gonna come together.
Tyler has prepared the long arc. I guess it will be like a year or something just to finish the long storyline. So yeah, there will be a lot of things to happen in the story. I mean,
Yeah, I hope we don't.
first 5 episodes are just, I guess, the setup or to give information about the environment, the atmosphere, what is going on, who are the enemy, who are the good guys, things like that.
You bring up a good point, Dink. I maybe some people have been wondering. They think this is just going to be like a one episode comic, but it's not. It's you just heard that.
Yeah,
For
it's
the
an
people
ongoing
listening,
series.
5 episodes. Yeah, 5 episodes just to set up. The backstories in the universe and everything.
And the best thing is it's not a hardcore drama. I mean, it's a fun, and it's a funny story, and a lot of action. I kind of find a lot of colors of 80s movies, to be honest, or the old good ones.
Yeah, right. I remember talking about that. We liked those color palettes. Kind of a bit of a throwback, but of course in a modern way.
I was hoping Tyler could join us tonight. He's he's been on the chat with us once before, and he's just, but maybe he would have ended up spilling some information that shouldn't be spilled. So maybe it's good he's not here. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, that was crazy. I had a crazy echo. Trying to figure out how to. If anyone here has any Telegram Rose experience on how to turn off the flood settings, that would be great. If not, it's cool. My friend can just stay quiet for 10 minutes, I guess.
Yeah, CD Howard down there. I know you like checking in from time to time, but I know you're busy with other stuff. So I hope you don't mind me inviting you there. There might be a few more. And I invite for anybody that doesn't know CD Howard, he actually one of the things he does is he makes these real life coins, and I noticed them before that, but when he posted those, I said, "Oh man," I said, "We're gonna have to have a pink version of one of these someday." And some of the team members here know what I'm talking about. Why that would be important. But that's spoilers.
Well, speaking of not really a spoiler, but Mr. Shadow, he just said that he has updated the landing page of the website to reflect the comic series coming soon. It is live.
Yeah.
Not the comic. The landing site. The landing site. The landing site. We're not announcing the comic. The comic is not live.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah, just updated the main web page. That's all.
Oh, it's cool. Cool.
That's still a great development. That's I know I'm excited about that because I've been
I'm trying to see if I can get him to come join us on the voice chat here.
Who Mr. Shadow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I
He's
think
on
it's,
vacation, so I think he's still awake. It seems like, I mean.
Well, he just updated the site, so unless he did that from his sleep. Who is yawning?
I'm not sure that he might have family around that he might not want to wake up. I'm not sure.
True. So what else is going on? What's everyone's like today? Or a better question, where is everybody from in the world? Where are you guys all from?
I am in Texas, the greatest nation in the world.
As am I.
You can confirm, is what you're saying?
100%.
Yes, sir.
The other day, I was describing a Buc-ee's to somebody. And I
Yeah.
was like, it's as if
legendary.
like a Costco and a Cracker Barrel had some mommy daddy time, and their output was a gas station.
Yeah.
They're like 100 gas pumps.
Yeah.
What is it called? Chucky's? No, Buc-ee's?
Buc-ee's. Yep.
Yeah, Buc-ee's.
So just imagine like the inventory of an average Cracker Barrel multiplied by the volume of a Costco, right? And that's about half. And then the other half is just like gas station inventory at the scale of a Costco. That's about what a Buc-ee's is.
You gotta pull up a picture. Y'all gotta Google it to understand what he's saying.
Yeah, just Googling it right now. Buc-ee's.
Yeah. Yeah. BUCC-EE''S. Now that they pride themselves on the cleanest gas stations, so there are a lot of times on major interstates when you're traveling, and that's how they got people start coming in. And they are no doubt the amount of 100 gas pumps, they probably have 4 toilets.
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever laid my eyes on in my life.
The
Holy shit.
The one in the city where I live has the world's longest car wash.
I don't even understand who needs so many gas
I'm
pumps.
just swiping the pictures right now.
I just clicked on images and my eyes are just being like assaulted.
Oh,
And most of those pumps stay full all the time.
Yes, yeah. You're probably seeing empty pictures from like marketing or when they were brand new, but like they are pumped full every day with people waiting.
That's wild. Okay.
So we got 2 Texans in here. I know some other countries. What else?
I'm in Connecticut.
Yeah, same here. Connecticut. Different parts though, Connecticut. Even though we're like one of the smallest states in the United States.
I can drive across Connecticut faster than I can drive across Houston where I live.
That's just what I was going to say. There are probably towns and counties that are bigger in Texas than our entire state.
I gotta see. Oh, lady, she's trying to. Oh wait, she's
I'm
talking.
in northern.
10 minutes is up.
I'm in Virginia, Northern Virginia, but from Massachusetts, and those are all my teams are in Massachusetts still. I haven't strayed.
Heck yeah, go Patriots. We miss Tom.
Hell, oh, yeah, we do. that was heartbreaking.
That
I'm
means
from
you're still
Lowell,
Bruins.
actually.
That means you're still a Bruins fan, right, Jess?
yeah. But I gotta say, Bruins was they're the one the one team or the one sport that I have not gone to a game in person. The other ones I've been countless times, but so I will say that. But of course, I'll always root for my hometown.
So welcome. We have a bunch of new faces in here. What's up, Johnny Utah? I've seen you around. And OMG. Welcome.
What's going on?
Not much. It's trying to stay cool. It's so hot today. And getting excited about this comic series that's coming out, and waiting to see if you guys have any questions about anything before we drop some knowledge on y'all.
I've got a
Nice.
question.
Here to support.
We love that. Thank you.
I got some questions, actually.
Go for it.
Okay, so just a little backstory. I am a launch day investor in Pink. Okay. I only had heard about it somehow. I think a friend to a friend, or saw a post or something, and I invested. Who on the team is still part of the team from launch?
I mean, nobody's left the team, and we just haven't
Okay.
acquired more team.
Got it. Okay. And so who's the one that is the contract deployer? Who is that on the team?
That's Savas, but he's the one team member who's, well, there's two that are not on the call, but he's actually not on the call at the moment. But Pink is, where is he? He's still here. He's the artist, and they're brothers.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's my
nice.
brother. I am the artist. He's
Okay.
engineer.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And my next question is, I'm sorry, I'm actually in the middle of something. When the token launched, did y'all have intentions of the comic from the beginning?
For my part, I mean, I was always planning this. I was just searching a lot for the possibilities of how to do this, but it was an idea from the beginning. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it kind of finally coalesced one day on a random voice call. I think was it on a weekend? I don't know if anybody remembers exactly when it was, but it was just kind of like a random voice call that we had with a couple of our members, and that's where like it really coalesced, it really gelled and came together. From just, hey, we want to do something, to we want to do this. If I'm saying that the right way.
Yeah, and
I mean,
because of my specialty is comic illustrator. I'm a comic illustrator. My friends are also comic illustrators. Most of them are working. Some of them are working in Marvel, DC, and Image Comics. So I came up with this idea about that, to pushing and creating a comic series is also good for collectible stuff, and it's an ongoing thing, and also pulling those friends into this project, and with a combination of strengths, we could just push this further. That's what I believed in the first place.
Really cool. Are there plans for NFTs
Who wants to take that one? We just had a very expensive presentation.
Extensive, not expensive, not expensive. Extensive. Well, I guess I could take that one.
Are we,
You know, there's-
are we talking about are we talking about all of it? Josh, should we talk about all of it?
If only you guys would have responded to my message in the Discord channel for this.
I didn't see it. Going now.
You know me. I'll say everything about everything with reckless and utter disregard for any type of non-disclosure. So it's your guys' call.
So I guess the question is, I mean, Dink, are you you know your brother? He's probably going to love our what we're doing, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's go for it.
Just the background, guys. We made some recent decisions, and so some of this is new for even some of the team members. Some, of course, not all.
Well, Josh is our. I think it's no secret that Josh is our new team member at this point. Josh, you want to say hello and introduce yourself? I don't know if people actually really know that Josh has joined.
I need no introduction. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so usually I'm the guy that gets called when a lot of things are going wrong. And so this is one of the few opportunities that I've had to meet a really cool group of people working on something that's just generally fun without a lot of problems and just a lot of questions, right? And so, one of the big things that a lot of projects don't really address as early as they should are things like what can typically be reduced to in the crypto space, but more broadly too, is like governance. So like who is a member of a team? Like, can they vote on things? What kind of things can they vote on? Like, how do we make decisions collectively and make sure that we're not having to walk back things that were said or commitments that were made without everybody in the team leadership on the same page, right? And so fortuitously we were able to figure out and establish all of those structures well before we start mooning, right? And so that's awesome because it means that all those little things compound, and so like little things compound in good or bad ways. And so like these habits that we're putting down, they might feel a little strict early on, but they really do become subconscious and habitual, and they just eliminate an unlimited set of issues and challenges that tend to emerge in a lot of these projects, right? Because what I've found in so many, not just crypto projects, but in startups or in open source communities, is a lack of clarity as to roles and responsibilities, and it's like sometimes that also means you're having conversations that are a little bit uncomfortable, but they're often uncomfortable because it's not become as common as it should to have these conversations up front, right? So like one of the things that I tend to do super early on when I'm getting familiar with a project and seeing, like what can I do here? Where can I add value? Is to be pretty transparent about, the time that I have available, the things that interest me, the skills that I have, and much more importantly, all of the skills and knowledge that I don't have, right? And so I think we've laid down a really cool foundation with the founding group here, and I have to thank Sam for introducing me to these guys. I started out in tech.
They don't know me as Sam, Lady Crypto. I can be Sam too, but I'm Lady Crypto.
Lady Crypto, yeah. And And so yeah, I started out in tech at like 13, 14, where I was fixing iPhones. I think at the time it was like I actually still to this day I have an original iPhone with a cracked screen and like some of the cables in the back are exposed. I think it runs iOS 2 and it's jailbroken, right? And so that's like a little keepsake of mine. So like I remember vividly the Thursday night when I first saw the original Marvel Iron Man, and it feels like such an era. That was a long time ago now. So like next day I was like, I want to be like that, right? And so I like went and I bought, what was it? Some what is that? It's like a can of like compressed accelerant that you put into your, not injector fluid. Like if you have like a no, it's like a 2-stroke engine or something, and then you go and you starter fluid. Yeah. So I went and I got a couple cans of starter fluid, and I put like an RC servo from like I don't know, some other project or toy that I had, and put it on there and did some tubing and wore a trench coat, and I had a little arm operated flamethrower, which is, I guess I survived, right? So that was my first Facebook profile photo. And anyway, so there's a special place in my heart for comics, and I think it's so interesting, the evolution of not just artistic expression, but all the new and novel ways we have to collaborate across the world on all of these creative ventures. And of equal importance is the ability to not be beholden to a financial intermediary. You know what I mean? So like we have the opportunity to work on fun, interesting, cool things. And some of them are vastly complex, but some of them are as simple as like, just take some artists who are phenomenal at what they do and give them, some minimal operational support, right? And then just get people behind it and get people watching and people reading. And yeah, so this is awesome. Like the ability to unlock all kinds of freedom with regard to the monetization of intellectual property of any type. And in this case, the ability to like make these artists some money and make us all money by way of being involved, quite early into what, could be a really interesting and extended series. It's just enthralling, right? So I'm super psyched. And I can always get long-winded, which is why I do my best to try and be like a casual observer, because otherwise I'll steal the microphone and hog it the whole time, right? So whatever you guys want to know about me, just feel free and ask, but otherwise I'm just hanging out.
Do you want to share with them, since you speak so eloquently, do you want to share answer the question that came up about the NFTs?
Could I get the question again, please?
I believe that came
Okay,
from...
yeah, go ahead. I was just asking if there's any future plans of NFTs with this project.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I thought the question was about a previous holder. Sorry about that. Never mind.
You're good. No worries. Yeah. So I let's see. What should we start with? So okay, like I run into a lot of the same common misconceptions about NFTs, and a lot of this is to do with it's bastardization as a buzzword in the context of a bunch of different nonsense projects, but also because there's a bunch of kind of ambiguous relationships between like traditional intellectual property and copyright law and protections and NFTs, right? You've got the entire region of what are they called? Like asset-backed tokens. I think there's another acronym for that that's more common. Anyway, so like forgive me if you already understand NFTs, but I think it's useful to just begin by addressing the separation of hosting the content and what a non-fungible token itself intrinsically is. right? And so let's be clear that, you know, any blockchain does not provide hosting and display of like rich media, right? So you can't go watch a video on a blockchain. Now with like Web3 and all of these different intermediaries and different participants in the evolution of decentralized technologies, there is, I think, every capacity to combine some type of like IPFS based protocol to store an asset and then actually, you know, link the asset itself, you know, hashed or something to the tokenized representation of that asset. But to reduce it, like where we are now is, you know, if I produce a video, I put it on YouTube and I want to sell it as an NFT, right? Like, you know, that NFT in the end, it only represents the fact that I'm the creator, right? And I say, well, you can buy, you know, a copy of this video. And then when you go and you watch it on YouTube, right? Like nothing prevents me from just taking down that YouTube video. And so the relationship and bridge between the storage and hosting, the display of media and its authenticity and representation as a token, you know, that's something that tends to be pretty misunderstood in our space, right? So with that in mind, we've been going through a couple conversations about the best ways of doing that in our particular use case here, and further how some of the things that we're learning and, you know, some of the industry leaders and best practices, how that can be extended to a lot of other content creators that don't want to take all of the time and energy and investment to try and figure out the technical and legal intricacies in all of these relationships, right? And so all of that to say, the plan for the NFTs is to release each of these comic episodes. Well, so I'll speak very specifically to just episode 0, right? So one of the things that we decided on is like episode 0, which is kind of like, it's not gonna, it's a smaller, like a pre-roll, so to speak, of what the normal episode length will be. So with it being a little smaller, we were like, okay, let's just launch this as a single NFT, right? Like, let's not try and do it by frame or by strip. So that was a decision that, you know, actually took a fair amount of team collaboration on, because there's just so many different ways of doing this. And so we decided on, you know, a number of circulation, you know, which is also important because, you know, in the end, like, we get to make that up, right? So we can say there's 10 million of these, but then there's no exclusivity or rarity there. We can say there's 1, and then that kind of sucks from engagement, right? Because it's like, you know, there's, if you think back to any of the physical comics that are now of such collectability, right? I mean, they did not begin as 1, nor did they begin as 10 billion. So we're trying to strike a balance between, you know, making it accessible and engaging to not just the people that are reading, right, but to the people that are like, this is cool, and I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with this series in 6 months or in a year, and who the hell knows about 5 years with anything these days, right? But, you know, I think there is a, you know, there's a large market at the intersection of people that have experience in collecting any types of like analog comics, and then those that recognize the significance and impact of the ability to create a digital asset with a unique representation. So, you know, so we're trying to strike that balance, and it, you know, it may be that in the future we do things differently than episode 0, right? Because we're going to learn as we go. But an important thing that you guys, I think, will be first privy to, is that we've been talking about different ways of rewarding people like yourself, Mark. The original holders, right?
Awesome.
And yeah, and so we've been talking about how these rewards would look, and we want to make sure that we give you guys something that is in recognition of having gone through all of the the challenges that came of it being an early launch and it being conflated with that other scam token, which I didn't really investigate. So I think what we've decided, right, is a pretty cool structure that I think is going to make everybody happy, right? And so it's like, well, we're going to launch episode 0, so that at the time of that, you're going to be able to buy this episode. I think what we agreed on was the first by time, right? So the first original 100 holders are going to get a copy of this for free at the time of launch, right? So I think that's the first thing that we decided on, and then to complement that, and also to encourage some people getting involved and getting some pink token. We're saying that it's going to be, let's see, what did we figure out here? It was anybody that holds 10 billion or greater of the pink token at the time of the release of episode 0. If you're holding 10 billion or greater and you hold that amount up until the release of episode 1, then we're going to gift you a copy of that NFT as well, right? So I think that's pretty cool, because we can, I think we'll make that announcement in the next day or 2 or 3. I'll leave that up to the other guys there when they want to make this as a a written and public announcement. But that way, so we're taking you original guys and we're saying you get this first, right? And then other people can buy it, but we want to reward you first. And then we're saying, hey, get in on this, right? Hold some pink, and we want to reward everybody that's holding, particularly if you're holding it until the next episode, right? And so I think our team expectation is that this is going to snowball into some pretty cool momentum, right? Because there's now multiple paths for people to get involved in the ecosystem and to add value to each other, right? So for everybody holding right now, we're gonna try and induce a bunch of new holders by making that announcement and saying, hey, you got to come in and buy 10 billion equates to around like $100, right? So you buy 100 something bucks of pink and you hold it through the next episode, whenever that's going to be. And I don't want to speak too much to the timetable there. Then you're going to get rewarded with a copy of episode 0 for hanging in there. But we're going to make sure that we take care of our original people first by giving them that. And I think there's a couple other things that we talked about that haven't been solidified yet, but there's definitely a couple other interesting, I guess we can call them like ancillary features or other fun stuff. So like, other forms of collectibles, maybe they're like character cards. And, down the road, once we've gotten some more time and we've built up the community, that's when you can really get to all of the most interesting stuff, like, doing animations or having, some type of like crowd participation that has like an impact on the narrative. Like there's a lot of really interesting things that we can do, but for now it's important to keep it simple. You know what I mean? Like I said, long-winded, so I'm going to pause.
I'm excited.
No, I appreciate it, because I know in a lot of groups, there's some pretty educated crypto people, but NFTs still, it's like still that new thing, and not everybody understands the details about them, and it's important to understand those little details and the intricacies. So, that was good.
Yeah, thanks, Josh, for breaking that down. I know that I don't know everything there is to know about NFTs. I know a little bit, so to hear someone else break it down to that simplicity is great to hear it, because it's allows me to kind of grasp it even more. Um, so further about the NFT, I guess my next question about it is, will the sales of those NFTs fund this project in any additional way for the holders, or what is the purpose of the monetary part of the NFTs?
Great question. Multi-domain, which is my favorite, right? Because there's a bunch of overlap here. So specifically, that's being able to provide value to the holders, right? Was our first goal here, right? And so I was thinking, like, how can we do that in a way that encourages people to get involved with Pink, but it still allows people multiple paths, right? Because there will be people that are totally interested in like buying an NFT, whether they view that as an investable opportunity, whether they view that as like just supporting the creators because they find it interesting, or for whatever reasons, but they might not be interested in buying Pink the token, right? And it may well be that there's a vice versa, right? Where you have who knows who's out there that stumbles across Pink, the token, and sees that, oh, here are some people that are involved that I like, and I think that Pink the token will grow as a result of the people involved with this project, and as a result of how interesting or fun or engaging this Crypto Force series is going to be, right? So we want those to complement each other, but we want to make sure we allow for every path, right? So I think what we're introducing here does that, right? So it says, hey, you hold a relatively nominal amount of Pink for a pretty short period of time, all things considered, and you will be rewarded with the NFT, right? But you can also purchase that NFT outright. And so now we have the ability to do those paths. So specifically to the allocation of revenue from these NFTs, first and foremost, it's of like paramount importance for us to pay the creators, right? I think that's like the biggest and most significant thing that we can facilitate in a project like this, is making sure that these talented artists and creators, so we have Dink on the phone here, but we have a couple others that are currently contributing to this series, including some possible big names, and then we've got a pipeline of I'm not the guy talking to all those people, but there's a bunch of other potential contributors that are just waiting for their paths, right? So we want to make sure that they are able to be rewarded and to profit off of their work, right? And then of course there's not really a lot of overhead right now, of course, but there will probably be more and more costs associated with maintaining scale, right? And so my participation is kind of in the intersection of marketing and operations, but I'm deeply technical in a lot of these emergent technologies. And so what I like to do is look at the positioning and the placement of a project and all the different other teams that might be adjacent. And I want to say, like, how can we all win? But at the end of the day, we don't right now have it figured out how sales of these NFTs will be injected back into Pink, right? So what we decided is, well, if you are holding Pink for a certain period of time, you'll be rewarded with that NFT, and in a slightly roundabout, or more of like an inverse way, that's going to have the same kind of benefit as if, hey, when you buy this NFT, you like, we were thinking about, maybe do we give discounts on buying the NFTs if you're holding Pink of a certain amount? And then we kind of shot that down after some discussion, because among other reasons, it could introduce a situation where you have people that get in and get out, right? And it's a little bit beyond the scope of our time to build a complex system that's going to go through and do a bunch of validations. Yeah, so like the NFT revenue essentially is going to go to the artists first, and then remainder will be split up into operational costs, right? And so then the objective for this is like to be able to allocate that to marketing efforts, to developers. I know Savas has spent an enormous amount of time not just deploying the contract, but doing extended and ongoing research into the integration with OpenSea. We've been talking, I think he's got a contact and a dialogue with Immutable for us to be able to do so-called gasless NFT minting and sales. And so, you know, all of that is like the bedrock of some of these other things that are kind of showing up in the crypto NFT space, like NFT based gaming, right? Where, you know, instead of just paying Riot for a League of Legends skin and then hoping that you don't get banned for a false report, now your ownership of, you know, the character or whatever the piece is in a game is kind of immutable, right? By nature of it being an NFT. And so there's just so many directions that we could go with this as a baseline. And it doesn't need to be huge right now, right? It just needs to be a bunch of people or a small amount of people who are interested in the same things, that agree to the same goals, that come up with a structure of how we make decisions. And then we go out there with you guys in the community and you know, see what makes sense for everybody, you know? So I should probably wrap that with some bullets at the end, which is like, hey, so the NFTs are going, the sale value or revenue from the NFTs goes to artists and then marketing and operations. But obviously all of this is in support of Pink the Token. And we're just going to figure out other ways of encouraging those interactions in the future. So there very well may be things like, you know, exclusives that you can only acquire if you're holding a certain amount of Pink, for example. Like there's a ton of things that we've talked about, but you know, we're just hanging out now, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, sweet. You know what? I like that answer. I know you, and I appreciate your in-depth answers as well. Because now I kind of have an understanding that, you know, these NFTs will support the project, which supports the holders. So without a strong team and being able to build the project, the holders would have nothing to hope for, right? So that's perfectly fine and great, and glad to have heard about it.
And thank you for the question and taking the time to listen.
We have a question in the chat from CD Howard, who's saying, do you already have a list of the first 100 holders? Not sure if I am one or not. Yes, we are taking care of that. We will go through and figure out who those first 100 holders are. Yes, that is something that we'll be able to know. It's all on the in Etherscan.
Yeah, that's the benefit of still being, you know, a small project, right? Is you know, it's relatively easy to go back and get that. You know, I talk about being a small project, right? Because everybody gets so hyped up about these giant projects with tons of team members and tons of marketing and everything else. And you know, I myself, I kind of like being on this smaller project. You know, it takes a little bit more time, but really good things come out of that. You know, all that organic conversation and time spent. CD, were you on that? Were you one of the people on that call that day when we kind of solidified what the comic would be? Just trying to remember. Yeah, I thought you were. He answered.
He was there.
Yeah, he was there, and I remember. You know, it wasn't a large group, but Yeah, so he was there for when Crypto Force was born, and we didn't even have a title for it at that time. But yeah, that was fun.
It's pretty amazing what can be accomplished with just some free flowing conversation. I mean, it literally is the direction of the whole project in a really amazing way.
Yeah, for a lot of people, especially if you're more recent in the project, everybody sees marketplace. That's that's the ultimate goal, right? And Dink, of course, wanted to do a comic, but we didn't quite know what yet. And so the focus was on the marketplace. And we talk about the marketplace being a niche for comics, right? NFTs specifically, but we throw out other names like Marvel and and such, but there has been a little bit more worry lately in the crypto world. I'm sure a lot of people know about this, about trademarks and different things like that and stuff, and especially since Marvel themselves have actually announced that they will start producing their own Marvel branded and owned and created NFTs. So on one side of the coin, you've got a, pardon the pun, you've got a that's great for this industry, right? It gives the industry some validation. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, if Marvel's creating their own NFTs, then man, I definitely want to get on in this early, because if the big guys are going to start doing it, it should only drive the price up of everything else. It gives the entire NFT market some validation and validity. But the other side of it is well, you got to worry about, we don't want to copy them, right? Because maybe they'll put their lawyers on it. So
can I just say a small thing over here? Because when we started, yes, we got a lot of artworks, fan arts, to be more precise. I mean, I even got some drawings that are shared by some big gaming companies, and my other friends have a lot of drawings of Marvel, DC, and a lot of fan arts. But we kind of realized that, I mean, I learned from a close friend of mine who is also a cover artist in Marvel, that Marvel is sending emails and urging people not to put NFTs on other marketplaces. There is no legal rights right now about this. I mean, there is no copyright issue about this, but it will happen someday. So I believe that creating our own thing makes things more clear and unique.
yes, exactly. So excuse me.
Are you okay?
Yeah, he dropped off, but is he still here? Oh, he's still here.
Yeah, I'm here. I apologize. Some of my drink down the wrong pipe.
Oh, so you're toasting. Don't touch.
I didn't think you'd want to hear me coughing, especially with COVID going around the world right now. But anyways, so yeah, that's the idea, right? Is there's a lot of fan art stuff, and I'd be willing to bet that the majority of people listening here, are either in the Nintendo fans coin, or at least thought about it and were worried about that same kind of thing. And it's the key, it's kind of the shift they did, right? You go to the fans, and so yeah, there's fan arts of Marvel characters and different things and stuff, and eventually, yeah, we hope that other NFTs, can be traded on our, well, not that we hope, but that's the plan, for other NFTs to be traded on our marketplace. But we have this unique comic series here that will continually generate unique and original pieces of art. So so no matter what, we should be able to withstand the test of time.
Yeah, and to support that from a a pretty macro perspective, right? Both in time and social momentum. What we have right now in not just the U.S. but globally is a really broken system for managing intellectual property, right? And this is not just in creative materials like music or artwork or comics, but also pretty systemic on the side of patents and patent trolls and um, all of this disruptive and inefficient, useless litigation. And it's just a ton of inefficiencies. And like I think I read a paper year and a half or 2 years ago estimating the loss of human productivity is something in dozens of billions, right? And it would just be amazing if we could get rid of that and have inventors invent and writers write and artists draw and and to support them all, and that that would be cool, right? That would be pretty cool. So particularly, I think there is a big movement with decentralization for everything to move towards this concept of many nodes, right? And if you were to explore any of the subsets of the last few years of progression and development in blockchain technologies, that's basically what everything has been moving towards, right? And so, something that's pretty regular in front of mind for me these days is Oracle networks. And so, you can go and look up like what is a crypto oracle, right? And obviously, Chainlink is by far and away the first mover here. I actually listened to like a 4-hour interview with Sergey, the founder. It's like the Lex Friedman podcast. And to summarize that 4-hour dialogue in a handful of words, which I'll probably end up being a paragraph or two, these oracle networks or these oracles themselves are aiming to facilitate a bridge between things that happen and are provable by data, things that happen in the real world, and other types of on-chain transactions, so smart contracts. And the most common example, because I think it's the most straightforward, that Sergey references is the concept of like crop insurance, right? So if you're a farmer, one year it doesn't rain, you don't make any money, and you don't want to lose your farm, your tractor, or whatever else, right? And so traditionally, there were two kind of financial and economic instruments that emerged to subsidize and offset this, right? So one form of that were financial derivatives in the form of commodities, and then eventually different types of options based off of those commodities, right? And so then there was also the direction of insurance, right? And so in the end, at the simplest level, insurance just consumes a bunch of averaged costs across a wide collection of participants, and then out of that pool of premiums that they consume, they pay out in the event of certain conditions, right? So with the example we've defined as weather, right? And so insurance for farmers, if it doesn't rain, that's something that's knowable, right? That's something that's knowable, it's provable, it's represented by data. But Ethereum can't know that, and smart contracts on Ethereum cannot ask the Weather Channel or the U.S. Is it the U.S. Geological Survey that does weather? Is the parent, or just the U.S. Weather Service? Anyway, so like a smart contract on Ethereum can't ask something that's not on Ethereum for information to make decisions, right? So you can't make crop insurance or any type of real insurance model on Ethereum on chain as a smart contract because it cannot access real world data, right? And so Chainlink and any application of what's known now and emerging as oracles or oracle networks, they serve as that bridge, right? And so you could consider, like, imagine AccuWeather, right, decides to become an oracle, and so they would just connect all of their data feeds to this technology as an oracle, right? And it would go from being a Web 2.0, like a client server model, where you could in theory you could compromise this by being like a bad actor, right? So I could say, oh, my friends that have this crop insurance smart contract, it didn't rain this year, they got to pay out, but they're greedy and I'm greedy, so I'm going to send my oracle a bunch of data saying it didn't rain, right? So then the concept of an oracle network deploys other types of governance and consensus models that are fairly standardized and extensively well researched in crypto, that basically say, hey, if you want to operate as one of these oracles, you got to put up a bunch of money, and if you lie, we're going to take that money. And so you can't really just have one oracle; you have to have a network, right? So if you have, the Chainlink white paper, which is an actual white paper, right, is like 130 something pages. I have not read it, but I watched the 4-hour podcast, so I think I have an adequate higher level interpretation of it, right? And so it's essentially, okay, well, there's different types of ratios here that says, well, if you have 7 entities, for example, that all act as oracles and they all provide weather data, right, and they take it from the real world and then they put it into a smart contract. If any one of the 7 wants to lie and say, oh, it definitely rained all year, well, then the other 6 will be like, that's bullshit, right? And then they'll get kicked out and they'll lose their money, which is what proof of stake is, right? Don't take an adversarial or fraudulent action. Don't reject transactions for no reason. And if you do, then you're going to lose your stake, right? So all of this to say, I spent a lot of time looking at a bunch of these macro functions, and it will at certain point, and it's a spectrum, not a flip of a switch, right? So it's not going to be like next month everything has an oracle, but there will be many entities. There'll be many record labels, there'll be many intellectual property law firms, there are going to be all kinds of organizations that over time transition to more decentralized structures of decision making, where the agreements that they enter into will be represented as on-chain smart contracts. And where this is the most relevant to our, and by our, I mean everyone on this call, our investment of time and energy into trying to understand what an NFT is, what a crypto is, like what's happening in this space. The investment that we are making now is like getting PC Magazine in like the 1990s, right? And you're like, oh yeah, the internet, like that sounds like it could do things, right? So we are still, we are still kind of at the forefront of this, and there are trillions, and I say that empirically, right? There are trillions and trillions of dollars of efficiency and value to be unlocked by disintermediating some of these different industries, right? And so that's such an important thing, because we want farmers that purchase crop insurance to get paid if it doesn't rain, so they can keep farming and they can keep their farms. And we don't want any greedy or fraudulent insurance company to be able to say, no, here are some some nonsense exceptions on clause 8 of page 50 of the terms of service that you agreed to, right? And so transforming the same agreement and the same outcome, right? Where the agreement is, hey, pay a premium, and if it doesn't rain, we'll pay you out, right? Transforming that into a smart contract adds a lot of value to everybody, right? Because it means that the farmers are going to feel a lot safer, knowing that they don't have to trust an insurance company. They trust a collection of math that represents absolute truth. And then the Oracle networks work together to make sure that the data coming from the real world accurately represents the real world and is now accessible on chain. And so with NFTs and intellectual property and all of the inefficiencies there, I think that the headline that I saw yesterday is that the dude that was on that Nirvana album, which album is that? I can't think of the name.
just read this today. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
I know
You know,
exactly
so-
what
Yeah. Yep. They're suing.
Yeah.
The baby is
Yeah.
suing.
The baby cover, yeah.
Yeah. So without editorializing, there are just so many situations and so many things that we are used to being inefficient and broken, and they don't have to be that way, right? So in theory, it is absolutely possible to create an extended and elaborate series of collective networks, and all of those networks are comprised of nodes. And you can think of nodes like local mom and pop shop businesses. You can think of them like nation states, or you can think of them as a team like us, which is a couple people that got together and said, here are how we're going to do things. Here's how we're going to communicate with each other and decide on things. Here's how we're going to communicate with our community, and how we're going to make sure we all win, right? That's what it starts with. And over time, just like the collection of technologies that we rely on, and the consensus models that are much more elaborate than any of us understand, that we rely on by using the Ethereum virtual machine, and even diving through all of the levels, like just the fact that we are able to interact with each other right now, electronically and digitally, is just magical, right? But it is built on many layers and many generations of people building on each other's technology collaboratively and as teams and as communities. And yeah, like I said, macro and long-winded, right? But where that is really relevant here is how many other small groups of artists are out there, and they're like, we need to make an NFT. I'm tired of being beholden to having to spend money on Facebook or Instagram ads when half of that ad traffic is fraudulent, which there's some papers on that, and I won't get into that too further. But I'm tired of spending all this money for advertising and then paying fees to credit card processors that can just say, oh yeah, this guy charged their credit card back and now you don't get any money, but they have your artwork. Or going on freelancer sites and having people say, oh, what you drew for me wasn't good enough. I'm not going to pay you, right? Or all of these other intermediaries that don't need to be there. What if instead each of our little groups of people that just want to make cool stuff, we're able to start banding together like we are now, and build projects and build protocols like this. So the placement and the positioning of this project, I think is really cool, because regardless of how many other projects or teams or groups of people are trying to do similar things, I view that as a positive, right? Because our technological and our legal improvements and all of the team knowledge that we acquire and we create and we iterate on and refine over time, that's not just beneficial to us. That's not just beneficial to the partner projects we have. That's not just beneficial to the technologies we're using. that's beneficial to every generation that comes past us, right? And so that's why, for me, it's always important to do everything that I can personally, and to help guide the teams that I get to be a part of, to do our best to do things right the first time, right? And take 100x the amount of time that it should take for something that, hey, this should take 30 seconds, and we just, oh yeah, no, we're on the same page. And it's like, no, I'm going to turn this into a 2-hour arduous process, to make sure that each of us has absolute clarity.
He's not joking, by the way. It's like 5 hours. It was 5 hours, not 2.
Well, that was 2 hours on one 30-second thing, and then the other couple hours were other things, but nonetheless. Because once you've done it like that, now it is a template, right? Now it is something that can always be done that way. And the core of all of these lasting principles, and we can trace this all the way back to, to Aristotle and formal logic, or any of the Greek philosophers, and you even take it back further. But sometimes the things that have the most significance, they often don't have the most visibility, and sometimes they're before their time. And in a world of like unlimited and instantaneous everything, like, I'm proud to be part of some people that will take all of the hours to do the tiny little things well, right? Because then we can act as a beacon, and we can say, this is how you do these little things well. And so then the next people don't need to take 2 hours. Maybe they might follow in our footsteps. And if we can lead the charge in some small way, alongside and shoulder to shoulder all the other people that are doing the same things, and many of them that are leading in front of us, that we follow in their footsteps, that's a cool thing to be a part of.
Aww.
This was all like on the fly, by the way. This sounds like it was prepared, but that's because it's happy hour. I'm drinking red wine.
Feeling pretty fine right now, drinking the wine. I mean, how can any of us top what you just said? So I'm just gonna ask the community if there's anybody that wants to ask questions, or jump in, and or contribute anything to any of the things that Josh just spoke about. Because definitely, sorry, I just happened to shove like a whole handful of pumpkin seeds in my face right as I started speaking, so sorry. But we definitely want to hear from the community as well, and we are obviously, Josh is very well versed in this space, and well versed in many other topics, so we're so thrilled to have him on the team. And his experience with keeping things structured and organized and on task has been a breath of fresh air, and we are having a great time kind of bringing him on board and kind of spitballing all the ideas. But at the same time too, like, the community is important, and if you guys have anything you want to add or ask questions or anything, feel free to speak up. And if you can't speak up, I'm in the chat and I can read it from there rather. Nothing. All right.
Call usernames. OMG, do you have anything to say?
I already know OMG can't speak because they said earlier in the chat that they were maybe working or with kids or sleep. I don't know, something where they were able to actually speak up, but they were here supporting. So we can't pick on them.
I'm just going descending. Mike Ray.
What
are you thinking?
We could pick on Michael Garcia.
How did I know that my name was going to get picked? I don't know. I think a big thing that I've noticed that I was really pleased about, just being a listener, when I first started personal training, my my general manager, he was like one of the best mentors I ever had. And I'm known to be a big talker. I always have to like give my 2 cents and always give an opinion. And he used to
I feel you, bro.
yeah. He used to tell me all the time. Now, this was back when I was like 17, 18 as a personal trainer, thinking I was like, top shit. And he was like, look, he would say to me every single day, 2 ears, 1 mouth, 2 ears, 1 mouth. And the one thing that I've picked up the most from him over my years of working with him prior to transitioning to the medical field was always listening to people's perspectives and the things that they share. And that ultimately helps you understand the space and the community that you're in and how that translates to your guys' wonderful team, your vision, your coin, the work that you're putting into it for the community, the way that you are targeting your market, the way that you guys are looking to elevate the space. It's a true 2 ears, 1 mouth situation for us as investors, because really understanding the mission and the goal of where you guys are looking to not only take DeFi in terms of investing in a coin, but also NFTs. You're trying to make it appealing to people that aren't currently in the market and make it as accessible as possible. And ultimately, that's one of the biggest gifts that just listening to the way that the team has articulated themselves. It's one of the reasons why I'm so proud to be an investor and to be a holder, is because I feel as though I'm a part of something professional. There's business development, there's a plan. You guys have been doing a wonderful job of not over promising and under delivering. You're on par with where you're wanting to go. And the fact that you have been so warm and so welcoming is one of the best things that as an investor, since I've only started investing since May. And that's because my buddy talked me into it. And
isn't that how we all start out?
Yeah.
Because our buddies got us into it.
Even my brother taught me into this.
Yeah, I swore off crypto. Like for years, I was like, no way, I'll never touch it. Like cash is king. There's no way that this will ever go anywhere. And then my buddy's like talking to me about Doge for like 2 weeks. And he's like, Mike, you got to get into Kishu with me. You got to get into Shiba with me. And I'm like, bro, no, forget about it. 2 weeks later, I'm investing in coins, not knowing what I'm doing, not understanding the space that I'm in. DeFi is truly the Wild West. We say it all the time. And the communities that I've transitioned into and the types of plays that I've transitioned to just from May to now is drastic. I pride myself on being a part of a community like this one, like Panther, like Pink. There's just something wonderful that makes you feel warm and welcome. You're having a bad day, hop into the chat, and it's just nothing but like warm welcomes and greetings. And ultimately, that's going to be what the biggest difference is in the long game. I know we all love having like our 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 run ups and then like cashing out. We all love it. Who doesn't? Who doesn't love turning $100 into 20 grand? Like it's it's money. You made money. But what I think a lot of people are missing and that you guys are presenting is you're filling that void of, patience, the tortoise and the hare, slow and steady wins the race. It's this development of the team, the development of the NFT art, quality over quantity. And that's something that people tend to forget about. And the fact that you guys are living that every single day and presenting that to not only the space but the entire DeFi sector is one of like the best things that I could have ever asked for. And I'm proud to be one of your investors and being in your project. And that's part of what I enjoy about being a DeFi angel, is that the DeFi angels brought me to you guys. So there's this symbiosis that's starting to come through this mud. You're a petal on that lotus flower that's blossoming in the swamp. I also use really weird analogies, so don't mind that. But I just, you guys have something really special going on. And I hope everyone that's on this chat and is listening really like feels the words that I'm saying when I say that what you guys here at Pink are doing is going to be something that like rocks the DeFi space and the NFT space, because you're looking at what the market is missing and how can you fill that void while creating sustainability, because it's not just about filling the void, it's about sustaining, it's having that longevity, and that's what you guys are creating here. So for everyone that's on the call, like really listen, really feel that and understand that that's the vision. It's not 100x tomorrow, it's slow and steady, it's longevity. I would rather have my investment, my money, be in something that in a longer period of time creates more revenue streams for me, because then we all win together rather than people feeling like they're getting bags dropped on their head. So quality over quantity, and that's truly apparent here.
Man, that makes me feel so good to hear you say all of those wonderful things, because we've been working really hard on the back end of all of this, and we stay in touch with the chats and whatnot, but it's been really important to us that it is, that we're not kind of putting the cart before the horse, and that we're not like putting out promises and trying to push the hype. And the wonderful thing, somehow in this crazy DeFi space, somehow we've managed to have like all of our holders have all been incredibly patient. And if you look in our chat, there's like very little like when Lambo, when pumping, like you just won't see that here. People know what's going on, they know what we're doing, they know what's coming, and people for the most part have been like really amazing, and all of the holders have been really amazing, and they see the vision. And Josh, when Lambo, thanks, dude. No, but in all seriousness, it really makes me feel good that people can feel that we are genuine and we really do want a successful project, and we're trying to pay close attention to the way that we do things to try to make it as successful as possible, and so that everyone's making money. And sometimes slow and steady is the winner of the race. We want to do things right for everyone, and I think people recognize that we are the real deal. We're not going anywhere. People know who we are. I mean, my name's Samantha. We have no problem telling you who we are. It's pretty fun and amazing and pretty exciting to be in the space with everyone. And just hearing the words, Michael, that was really sweet. Thank you, and much appreciated. Really quick, Josh, someone in the chat I think we've gained kind of doubled our participant from when the first time around when we were talking about the NFT rewards, and someone was just asking about is there free NFTs for the first 100 holders? Is it possible? Do you mind just sort of refreshing everyone real quick, since we have a bunch of new listeners, on what's happening again there, since you said it so nicely?
Gladly. Also, if anyone wants to enter a prediction market on whether I can meet any of the timers that I'm like, hey, I'm going to keep this to a minute, right? And then that's always a fun game to play. I try to play it with myself.
Okay. How long? What do you need here?
So I'm gonna try to cap this at a minute, right? And then so it's
do you have anything other than wine there?
All right, I'm gonna
shots game.
All right,
but
it's like so it's got to be like on your mark, get set kind of thing, right? So
okay. All right, you got it. And your
okay,
mark.
so
you're jumping the gun. Okay.
All right, we're going.
On your mark, get set, and go.
So we wanted to figure out a good structure that rewards all of our original holders, that incentivizes people to buy Pink, to encourage more involvement and more engagement in the token, but to not prevent people from buying these incredible artists' materials and this comic as an NFT, right? So what we've decided to do is to, at the time of launching episode 0, right? So it'll be purchasable as an NFT. Our original first 100 holders are going to get, at the time of launch, they're going to get a copy of this for free. And then up until the point of launch, if you are holding at least 10 billion pink, which is about $100, and then you continue to hold that until the release of episode 1, then we're going to give you a copy of this episode 0 for free as well, right? So I think that allows.
There's your
So
minute.
like in a halt.
No, you keep going. This is important info. Keep going.
No, that was it though. I think I did it. So yeah. So the thinking and the reasoning around this, we spent a fair amount of time to think through, the different user stories and the trade-offs. And we did a fair amount of effort to make sure that like our entire team has a well-defined like voting and governance structure, so that anytime we're coming out here and telling people things, like we know we're going to deliver, right? And we know that we're going to meet and exceed all of the expectations that were set. So we wanted to make sure that for those that might not be interested in buying a token, especially a like micro cap like Pink, that unfortunately had some false conflation with that other one, which I don't even know, but apparently there was a lot of damage there. So we want to make sure that like, hey, you can still buy the NFT. We reward the original holders. We encourage new members to buy Pink and to hold it, and they're given a reward, right? So I think that's a really cool structure, and there's just a ton of other fun, interesting things that we want to be able to do that we're not going to talk about now because we got to make sure that we understand the processes involved. And so then I think Mark had asked earlier a really cool and relevant question, which is that like, how does the NFT support Pink the token and vice versa? How is this project supported? And so the revenue from the NFTs first and foremost is distributed to the artists and the creators, because we want to make sure that they are the pinnacle of what we're doing here, and we're honored to have them. So then everything else from the NFT sales is going to the operational costs, marketing and partners and all of that jazz. And I think it makes a fair amount of sense to draw a separation between like the revenue streams from one of these tokens and what's commonly called like the developer wallet in like the allocation of the original distribution of tokens. And I think we have that too. It's probably a pretty of minimal consequence relative to the circulation. So there are things that we're going to be able to do in the future with actually having like a defined revenue stream from being able to monetize not just the NFT episodes, but other forms of collectibles, and things like exclusives where, hey, you can only buy this like this character card, for example, if you're holding a certain amount of Pink, right? And so what we want to do is find all kinds of ways of bringing a bunch of the other artists and creatives and getting them involved in creating this narrative. And so there is every possibility that this branches and extends in ways that we can't know or expect, but will probably be awesome, right? And so like, for those of you that know me, I've done a lot of time in music, and so I like to do composition and film scores, and so there may even come a time where there's like an animations and theme music and who knows whatever else, right? But I think like that's the coolest thing that NFTs and in any form of decentralized finance allows us as a society to do, is to disintermediate all of these archaic and asymmetric structures that abuse artists, and they consume all of the value, and they have all of this nonsense litigation. And this extends far beyond our group here. It's systemic and it's global, and it's measured in dozens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars in annual lost human productivity, right? And I had a tangential but like a couple days ago, I had a call, and I won't reveal any information, but the dude designed the entire rocket test facility for Blue Origins, right? And he was like one of Bezos's like right-hand people. And then a couple years later, gets ousted from the company because of politics. So then he goes on to Virgin Galactic. He starts a rocket test facility there. And sure enough, something like 18 months later, VP of that company goes to start another rocket company, walks off with all of his proprietary designs, doctors some documents, and he can't afford all of the costs it would take to litigate there, right? So, I mean, we're like, these things happen, and fortunately, the dude has just ridiculous emotional resilience and has now gone on to form something else that I might be blessed to be a part of, which is just so complex and beyond my skill set. But nonetheless, right, like, where would we be as society if we didn't have those barriers, if we didn't have to go to these third parties and ask them, beg them, hey, I have all of this content that people like, will you please pay me money? Like, we can move past that. And so even with our small group, the things that we're trying to do here are things that I think a lot of humanity is trying to do, and we just got to pursue them as our little node, our little nation state. And if we can in any way inspire a handful of people to explore DeFi a little further, to explore the technicals and the abstractions of NFTs a little further, to contribute their artwork and give them, a path towards being able to sustain themselves and be rewarded for their creations without being beholden to somebody that sits in the middle. Like, that's what we're trying to do. And so, like, every step in that direction is a step closer towards, something that makes that a reality. And I just can't wait to see all the things that are going to come from it.
Well said. Does anyone have anyone? Oh, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you mentioned the part that hit me was with, like, music and video, and that's one thing. Our artist Dink, he's got some experience with motion comics, and apparently in the comic world, as all technologies evolve, right? That's one of the things. It's a trend he's been seeing, and I know he's done a bunch of that. Is anything you'd like to talk about that there, Dink, about the motion stuff?
Yeah, well, as you know, everything changes with time, and also comic industry is moving forward as well. So I have been searching a lot of stuff in the upcoming years, and I have noticed that not just me, I mean, most of us, most of the comic artists and board artists noticed that the comic industry is moving towards a more animated motion graphic. How can I say? Even VR versions. They are developing even VR versions of the comic series, and I figured out that new kids, I mean, people, children, usually use tablets, and we, even us, I mean, we always use our mobile phones. We don't just go and grab books or from shelves and read stuff from our mobile phone. So we are. I believe that we are in the verge of a new era, that all of this media will change into a more digitalized and more animated world. So yeah, I think motion comics will be the next thing, next big thing in the future, in the near future. I mean, within years. It's easy to make. It's not. You don't need to pay big budgets to animation studios to create them. You can just create them with 3 or 4 people, and people people see that as animations, and also there's a storyline over there as well. I mean, you can just go and search Dark Horse Comics motion comic series as well to see what I mean in the YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was only one other format, and as we talk about and keep developing, we talked about episode 0 as an NFT, right? Of course, there's going to be more than that. That's one of the whole points of having a comic series, because it's just going to keep generating these unique, original NFTs for as long as the comic series goes. And I don't know how many episodes are written yet, but for those that just got on,
4, I
there's
guess.
5.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I think you said the first 5 are really just setting up the universe and some backstories and just establishing, this long-term story that's just going to happen. So it's not just a one and done. But to get back to what I was talking about there, you had told me that in the comic world they're even going with these 360 free to move around, right? Like virtual, I guess it's kind of like what you're saying, virtual reality
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or
I have
360.
done one in my country for a famous person over here. It's a 360. You draw a 360 2D image, and you shoot someone in the green screen background, and you just place the person inside the drawing, and boom, it's a animated and a comic world, and also there are real people over there. So yeah, there are a lot of new options. There are a lot of new stuff coming in. There are I have read that there's even a testing of a 360 comic series, but it is hard to do with even 5 artists. It's hard to do with even 5 artists. I mean, you need a lot of people to create them, because it's a big big image to finish, to draw.
Yeah, I can't imagine the amount of time that would take, but that's one of those things, right? I'm actually curious now. I wonder if one of those like 360, spherical type drawings. I'm wondering if that could be encapsulated in an NFT somehow. Might be too big.
Yeah, you can place them as PNG or JPEG NFTs, but the problem is you wouldn't see it as 360 without a Google Glass or without a VR glass. I mean, VR set. You need that set to experience the feeling. Otherwise, you will just see a weird image with melted formations.
So maybe you sell it. Oh, sorry, my speaker's so loud. Maybe you sell it at a high enough price that it includes Google Glass.
On Facebook, you actually can view panoramic 360 images like that, so it's not out of the question.
That's true. That is true. That's
yeah. Facebook does that.
I would imagine, it can't be encapsulated inside, but it might be, that might be your key, right, to unlocking it. But, as we keep talking about the different types of NFTs, right? How, and every project that seriously considers NFTs and isn't just offering, isn't just trying to, hey, we need an NFT, right? But when you really sit back and you think about it, there's different ones, right? There's some that are one-offs, there's some that are common, there's some that are rare, and eventually down the road, right? Though, that's what we were thinking. We're throwing that possibility around. It's all still under development, and it's why we want to keep doing talks like this. We want to hear from the community, and I'm sure as we start to pull in, people into crypto for the first time. You know, they may be in the comic world, but they're not in the crypto world. Maybe they've even heard of it. But you know, our artists.
A lot of artists are afraid from the crypto world, and yeah, there's a problem with that. People don't know how this world runs, and they are what was the right word? Skeptical, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and the point I want to get to is that, you know, our artist here, Dink, that was just talking, you know, that's his real name. He's doxed on our website, you know, pink-nft. And, you know, once he starts sharing his artwork with his professional community, you know, it's going to bring a lot of people in, and it's going to be noticed a lot more, you know, outside of the world of crypto. You know, I think it's probably safe to say that almost everybody in this room right now has bought more than one token. But we foresee in the near future, you know, bringing a lot of people in for the first time. And I like to remind people, you know, if you see somebody that's in Telegram and they look like a total noob, it's because they probably are. And they're here just trying to find, you know, they're here dipping their toe in it, right? Because it's something that finally pushed them over the edge to say, you know what, I'm going to give this crypto thing a try because I love comic books. I love the world, you know, around comics, and you know, I really want to be part of this. So, you know, just remember that, and you know, just help everybody out if you see those questions and those people.
And I'll just remind you of our conversation on the language doxing, right? Which can
I knew you were like, I knew it. I was waiting.
As soon as I said it, I'm like, oh man, I gotta remember that.
I'm not like the chief compliance officer or anything, but you know, some of this stuff is like, let's do what we can to start leading the charge and taking back the meaning of certain words, you know, and just, that's a whole tangent. I'm not going to go that way.
Yeah, but no, it's so true. It's so true. So let me practice here. So our main artist Dink here that I was talking about, you know, provides his real identity on our website.
Sorry, you heard me struggle before. I paused to think about how I wanted to phrase it when I was saying something similar, because I was not about to let that word fly out of my mouth.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you guys have done it just fine, which is that like, there's no reason to not. In fact, not only is there not no reasons. Oh, I was going to do a triple double negative. There is every reason for us to associate our identities with projects that we're proud of, right? But to take that further, if you consider what is the difference between a print of the Mona Lisa and the Mona Lisa, you know, it's authenticity, right? And traditionally, in any type of collectible market, whether it's coins or comic books or artwork or, you know, a signed baseball by Babe Ruth, right? Regardless of what the asset is, there's this this element of authenticity that provides, you know, the maximum value. And then there are all of these entities that are responsible for evaluating and providing some type of certificate of authenticity, right? And if you consider at the most fundamental level, what an NFT is, it is nothing other than a digital signature of something. And what I, you know, continue to try and provide more clarity on is that there is a definitive separation between that hash, you know, that signature and the cryptographically provable ownership of a digital token, right? And the content that is displayed and hosted somewhere else, right? So I screenshot Jack Dorsey's original tweet and I put it on OpenSea and I say, this is the first tweet ever, right? That's not going to sell for 2.9 million, but the original one did because it was authentic. And authenticity has to do with the relationship, essentially between the creator and the material, right? And so depending on the value, there is more or less forensic techniques that are applied to determine authenticity of any physical traditional asset. But now we are in an era where that authenticity is as simple as a creator saying, here is my digitally signed thing, which is authentic. And you can understand that in two ways, right? So number one is, where is this author or this creator declaring that they have a private key, and they mint an NFT, right? And then you've got the actual token itself that can then be transferred. And then so anything else is really just supplementary, right? The relationship between that token and where the content is hosted and displayed is not as meaningful, right? Because what you have is really one provable degree of separation between you and the original creator of such content, right? And I mean, everything else is an extension or an extra layer or an abstraction away from that. And so what really could become in the next couple years are so many other novel applications of the concept of an NFT, which is to say, like participation NFTs for being involved in a charity event or volunteering, for example, or declaration NFTs where, I'm going to say, here is, this very outspoken opinion or statement. And so then I go out there and I make that statement and then I mint it, right? And then 5 years later, wow, it turns out that was true. Now I can point back to 5 years later where I have a hashed proof that I made that statement. But then there are all kinds of other really interesting things here, right? Which is like, think about the concept of like an endorsement NFT, right? So how many projects have you guys encountered where they make claims about being involved with a person or another project when in fact they are not, right? So imagine a situation, right, where you can go and you can thumbs up someone's project, but then all of the things that occur in the back end have now produced a on-chain event that becomes immutable that proves that you did that, right? And so now you can build these elaborate systems that just better structure and represent reality. And in the course of doing so, the people that are truthful will be rewarded, and those that wish to manipulate or to obfuscate the truth, they will be counteracted. And I think that's a future that we want to move towards. So the authenticity thing that you guys had mentioned, which is the connection with your real identity, that's a really cool thing, and that's a start. And where we're absolutely moving towards is the ability for everybody to connect their real world identities to a cryptographic signature, and then to affix that signature to things that you believe in, right? And I believe that to be an order of magnitude more meaningful than holding a token, right? It's you saying, I believe in this thing. And imagine we move even further to these incredibly ambitious but feasible structures where you have a leader or a politician, and this individual says, if I am elected, I will do these things, right? I will allocate this amount of resources to these objectives, right? And so then instead of just using words, which are fragile and which are easily distorted, and for best of intentions, also easily misunderstood, instead of doing that, you establish the logic of what you're attempting to do in the form of a smart contract or an NFT that holds the logic that could be built into a smart contract. And you say, here is my proof. When I am elected, I will do this thing, right? And then you're elected, and it automatically, or in some capacity, it takes that NFT with a logic, or it takes that smart contract and it deploys it, right? Like that is a thing that can happen, right? That is a world that we could live in, where we move away from all of our leaders just being nonsense, to a world where people with the better ideas win, because they're so much interrelated, right? The ideas that you commit to and ascribe to define who you are, and vice versa, right? The ideas that you choose to expose yourself to and allow those ideas to poke holes in the gaps of your understanding. Like, that is the process of learning, and the process of growth, and the process of being a leader. And what if we could introduce these mechanisms that we already have, that are already working consistently in a way that civilization has never experienced? What if we could build those into our everyday lives, and they would be as simple to use as thumbs upping a post, right? That's a thing that we could do. And so, like, every step towards that, even if it's something as simple as Dink saying, hey, I am this person, and when you buy this episode 0 as an NFT, I made it, and here are other artists that are involved. Like, that's a step towards that future, right? In a small way and in a fun way. And if you think about Dogecoin, right? I've had some pretty negative opinions of Dogecoin, and I heard, for example, like Lex Friedman's opinion and statement on Doge, and he basically said it is a social experiment in fun, right? It is a way for people to participate in crypto without all of the seriousness with, like, Bitcoin, for example. For people that have never heard of, and never been involved with any of these details or any of these communities, right? Which, most of us don't bite. But a lot of people outside don't really know that, right? Because you go and you're like, what's Bitcoin? And people scoff at you. Oh, you don't know about Bitcoin. Like, so I his statement, his opinion on Doge kind of has done a bit of a transformation, to my opinion. And so Pink in this project, I think, is a really cool way for us to explore all of these radical, overarching, and just infinitely complex new features that we could add to the world, and to explore them in a way that's really at the core just a fun thing to work on. And that's awesome.
Now is your opportunity where you should be dropping the mic. That was really
It's
cool.
on an alarm.
Cheers.
Are y'all talking about me? My ears are burning.
Who's that?
Oh, let's no, thank you very much, Josh. It's great to hear this kind of stuff, and I like this is real content. I mean, some of it's bigger than Pink, but you gotta start with stuff like this. And I know for a lot of us here on the team, Pink's been, to coin that phrase, a labor of love. And and I definitely could say for myself, I'm not going anywhere. But I would like to ask, since we have been talking a lot, anybody new that's recently come in, or does anybody else have any questions?
And if for some reason you're unable to speak, I'm watching the chat in the main chat there. So you're welcome to put a question there as well, and I can read it in here.
I see BG in the house. What's up, Bill?
I was just going to say hi, everybody. I've been a fly on the wall, but enjoyed the conversation post AMA. And the only question I have is, when can we get an AMA with our pick at Pink Panther? Can we set this up?
Heck yes, man.
Let's do it.
Bro, I'm working on it. I caught it. I got you.
I didn't even know you were in here. Sorry. Josh, my friend, I didn't get to tell you in voice yet, but congratulations on coming over to the team here. Welcome. Looking forward to see great things come along, my friend. Good to see you again.
Thank you, sir. Honored to be a part.
Yes. All right, everybody. I'm going to go get some work done, but this was a really cool chat, and I look forward to more happy hours soon. This is awesome. Next time I'll have to get a glass of wine and join everybody. All right? Cheers.
Salute, my friend.
Thanks, Taylor.
I had a question.
Please, by all means.
Earlier on, when I first jumped on the project, I noticed that y'all had a kind of a non-functional, but at least it was coded out in HTML regarding the NFT marketplace. And recently, I noticed that it looks like you guys are pointing to OpenSea, and I was wondering if that was a change in approach, or if what's going on with that aspect of the development.
Okay, so I think I can speak. Go ahead. You want to take this? Oh, look, you went on mute, so I guess that's me. Yeah, so I'll speak to this. The original idea before my time here was for this to be a marketplace for many NFTs and digital assets, right? And then I think my understanding is that as is often the case with new projects, they put some stuff out, and the market responded, and they pivoted, and they started making their own comic, and then I got involved, and one of the things I'm known for is like, let's go really, really, really slow, right? So the introduction of the OpenSea clone, which I think is just all taken through just calling API functions, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't been on the site recently. That's more of an exploration right now, just to see, particular for our front end guy, how does this look and feel incorporated on the site, right? So I would not call that a firm decision, because as mentioned earlier, the original deployer and like lead engineer, I think Savas is a computer science professor, right?
Industrial engineer, but he is good with computers.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. So we'll call him our lead engineer. Has been in charge of selecting some of the technical features, and so he's built a relationship with Immutable X, and they're a layer 2 solution, right? Which I think Quant had just dropped here. So obviously the benefits of using a layer 2 is to be able to mint gasless and trade peer-to-peer instantly without incurring gas fees for said transfers. And so from like a business administration standpoint, we want to do our best to remove barriers towards doing things like, hey, we want to be able to give the original 100 holders a copy of this NFT, right? But it would be entirely cost prohibitive to pay individual gas fees for 100 transactions to mint 100 NFTs on Ethereum virtual machine, like proper, right? So that's just far outside of our budget and our scope. So he's been in communication with Immutable about using their minting function to be able to accomplish these same things, and it will still be able to, obviously, because what they do is the zero knowledge role, right? So they're going to batch transactions and then post them, and they will then have the proof, and so then it still is an on-chain mint, but then they reduce the cost by several orders of magnitude. So then there's a question, which is open right now, right? On how we will display and sell and eventually allow any types of secondary sales and peer-to-peer transactions on our front-end client, being the website. It's an open question, what the efforts towards that will look like. Because of the relationship with Immutable. So they're going to do, probably one of their engineers going to do a little bit of hand holding. And if you know JavaScript, then there is an open spot for contribution on the team, because it's a pretty simple, I think it's a REST API. So there's a couple of things that we got to figure out there. So to summarize with a specific answer to your question, no, that is not solidified. We're playing around with these different things to figure out what's optimal, and we should have those decisions pretty quickly.
Yes, and I just wanted to add, I apologize. I was in motion when I went to answer that before, but also part of that is we wanted a fallback, right? We knew, okay, we need to develop our own, layer 2 solution, and it was like, okay, writing it from scratch that's a major undertaking, and there's other services out there that maybe they don't offer you a cookie cutter solution like OpenSea does, but we said we know that's going to take time too. And since we had kind of shifted more towards creating original content with the comic series as kind of the primary goal, because let's face it, you can have a marketplace, that's great, but you got to have really good content to be there, and we think we have that, but it would just be better to have like our own original content as an anchor. So when we made that shift, we looked at OpenSea, and OpenSea has a couple different levels of integration. And we decided, you know what, we're going to go with this first level of integration here. We're going to integrate it into our website so that if the day does come, right, that, well, the marketplace isn't ready, but the comic is, then we have something to start with. So it's definitely not the end goal. It was more of like a, well, let's have a fallback just in case, right? You hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Maybe that's not the right saying in this case, but you always want to have fallbacks and things.
Yeah. Even wars, you have to fall back and regroup.
Mark, does that answer your question?
It does.
That does. Thanks.
I love the continuing addition to all this. I'm new to all this, so I'm learning. Thank you for giving me everything to hear.
We're all learning, bro. Always.
The best Telegram groups that I'm in, it's not all talking about, hey, how are we going to pump this coin? Hey, 100x, blah, blah, blah. Those for me anyways, get boring. It's groups and conversations like this, where, and I encourage anybody, don't think it's just the team members that can share information like this. If you've got something, speak up. Or like we said, we're all here to learn, constantly learning. The more the better.
Anyone have anything else they want to add in there? Josh, you look like you're about to say something, or Quants.
And ask the same thing.
Yeah, I guess the question was, do you guys have any other things planned as far as NFT drops besides the big comic drop to try and build up to it and also build some war chest funds for yourself, so to speak?
I think yes, but the shape and the strategy and the processes that surround it haven't been decided on yet. So probably you know, one pretty simple direction is to offer like collectible character cards, and potentially with some type of like crowd based set of interactions that surround. And I don't want to disrupt the narrative that's probably very eloquently outlined. But say, for example, a couple episodes down the road, there's a big fight a la, Captain America versus Iron Man, where it's like, well, they're actually both the good guys. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up here. But, imagine a situation where, the character that has the most sales of their character card in a certain period wins the fight, or something, fairly reduced like that. I think one of the coolest things about having a community that can transact with the project is the ability to introduce, some type of adaptive narrative, right? And so you look at like what was that Netflix thing where it was some like weird words, right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? That Netflix show where you can choose the path, right?
I remember a book that's probably before your time called Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah, like those.
Choose Your Own Adventure was awesome. That's exactly how it sounded.
Yeah, so skip to page 100, for this, or go to page 50 for that. Yeah. So not before my time, man. Come on. I'm kidding. Yeah. So
I was in like second grade when I first was reading Choose Your Own Adventures, and so.
Yeah, but so like there's obviously some dimensions there, which is like, well, number one, that's got to be planned and accounted for well in advance, so the narrative isn't commercially defined, right? Because what we don't want to do is have putting our artists in a box so that way we make more money. That's nonsense, right? But we do want to include forms of interaction that involve the community, and that just takes some time to brainstorm and figure out, right? So it's like writers rooms, and then having like marketing and operational conversations. And yeah, so I mean there's countless possibilities, and they're all in the infinite future, right? So at this time most of that's just kind of on the horizon.
Yeah, basically we have a list of ideas, and we don't want to leave anything. We don't want to talk about anything now that we haven't decided on an implementation of. We've even talked about NFTs tied to real world projects, and how in the comic space that maybe works. Maybe people think of, oh well, figurines or items that were from somewhere, some movie or show or something. But also, maybe someday, like I said, just an idea. This is not set in stone at all. But maybe we say, okay, we're going to produce a limited number of printed copies, and to receive the paper copy, that you have to purchase the matching NFT. There's a lot of things that are, we talked about it for a little bit, because let's face it, in the crypto world, a lot of people want to be completely anonymous. So it's and somebody would have to put in their address and different things like that. But I don't want to go too far down that road. You know, the point
Oh,
was
but I
just
do,
to say
right?
that we're thinking
Which is
about it.
that's not a thing that we would need to do, because this concept of having oracles, elsewise known or described as an intermediary that can provide information to a smart contract, where the smart contract can interact with it without knowing what the information is. Meaning, there are absolutely systems that could provide something where, for example, you've got some type of asset that you would like to purchase on chain, and so your interaction with it, your preference is for it to be an anonymous interaction, but you must disclose your address to have a physical object fulfilled, right? So there is absolutely structures that have been established right now where the seller, right, can operate a smart contract, and you can go and you can purchase from that seller, and then that smart contract will call an oracle, and that oracle will have access, for example, to your address, and you give that oracle or that intermediary your address, right? And then they can provide fulfillment of a physical, like drop shipping, right? So they could provide drop shipping of your asset, and then they could provide to you, or excuse me, to the seller, the information that, hey, this was sent, right? I mean, we could build a decentralized Amazon. It is entirely possible, or at least a mostly decentralized Amazon, right? Like, these things are feasible, but that's not the scope of this project, right? This scope of this project is to create cool stuff, and just be aware of the evolution of all of these marvelous and massive technologies that kind of underpin this ecosystem, so we can be earlier to using them and we can lead the way. So it's getting late. Anything else?
Sure. Do you guys have maybe like a short-term roadmap? I know you've got the pink paper with all your kind of like big picture stuff, but I was wondering if you have more like you also have like a supplementary, like short-term, this is what we want to get done like this week, next week, week after that, to I don't know, because I guess comics take a long time to make, so short-term stuff to keep people engaged and help spread awareness of the project and things like that.
I think it's more like
that's
figure out what we want to do and start launching the creative. That's going to be the bulk of it. I mean, everybody else chime in, team.
I'm waiting for my air conditioner to kick off. But Dream, are you still here? Or you can talk a little bit, or
yeah.
We're very close to the launch date.
So
I don't know if I should
now,
talk or not.
sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'm not talking. Okay, go.
No, please, Ding. Go ahead, chime in on that. It's I mean, you're the one doing the bulk of the creating of the comic series.
No, I was just gonna say that we are using a format called Webtoon. It's a Eastern, I believe it's a Korean format, Asian format, which is suitable for mobile phones, and it's very easy to read, and also it's easy to and more fast to produce. I mean, you don't have to draw all the 30 pages in a month or in 2 months to create the issue 1 or issue 2. So basically, you create episodes if you are familiar with the Webtoon format. I mean, anyway, you create episodes which consist of several panels. It depends it depends on the storyline, and it's faster. I mean, it's not a episode, one episode every month, but you can do more if you if you concentrate more. I mean, if you give more time to do it.
And if anybody's wondering, yes, those are crickets you heard in the background. Because what time is it over there for you, Dink?
It's 04:21, I guess.
Like 4 o'clock
4
in
in
the
the
morning.
morning. Yeah, 4. This is my vacation house. It's in the forest, so yeah.
Yeah. So just to sum up, the short term for us right now is we're pretty focused on releasing episode 0, and as we get and once we get closer to that, we're gonna start. Well, even now, we are kind of working on next steps. So, starting soon here, well, already starting with tonight, you're going to hear more things come out. We hope to do these little, like, they're AMAs, but, we'd like to keep them a little bit less formal and, open to talk about different things, different technologies and stuff. We hope to do these on a regular basis now. So, tune in and you'll be the first to hear.
Can I just say I'm really proud of the fact that we have a 94% community trust rate on Dex Tools. Sorry, I know that was really out of left field, but I was just looking at it and it was like almost the entire bar is green. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, that's pretty good considering that other
Yeah.
coin that launched. We've got.
And in any case, I think that's a good place to end off, unless give one last opportunity to maybe if someone has questions. But I think we've covered a lot of information, and this has been recorded and will be dropped in the chat. So anyone who's joined in late and wants to hear everything that was said will be able to do that. And what I may do is on the last couple of ones that we did, I converted it to I put it on YouTube so that people can sort of jump around instead of, I think on Telegram, you're sort of forced to listen at the rate. Like as far as I know, I've not figured out a way to fast forward or skip ahead on Telegram audio. So I think that I will put this onto a YouTube format and drop the link so that people can sort of skip around and listen where they want to. Unless anyone else has an issue with that or prefers that I just drop the link in there. But we'll make something available to you.
Dink, you're a rock star for being out on here so late. We really appreciate you. And we're so glad, Josh, that you joined the team and the community. You guys are awesome for the 94 votes. And right on, let's do this, guys.
No one else has a question.
Oh, Quants, go ahead real quick. What you got?
If no one else has a question, do you guys have partnerships planned, whether that's with other projects or with real life companies or anything like that? Since I know you guys have a bit of a comics background, do you have any distributors that might be interested in jumping with Pink or?
Distributors, no, but there is a potential project that I'm just waiting to talk to somebody about. I don't want to say anything because I haven't talked to them yet, but yeah, there's at least one so far that I've got my eye on, and I know they want to talk to me too, or talk to us, but that's just gonna have to wait until for another day.
Yeah, I got some information, but I have to 100% sure about things before I speak. So it's about the comic world. It's about big names in the comic industry. Yeah.
Nothing official at this time.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing. I feel like this is a super successful happy hour. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight and sticking with us. And you know, it's an exciting project for us to be a part of, and you know, it's pretty cool to hear that a lot of the holders are equally as excited as well. So we'll keep you guys posted as stuff comes up. So, you know, say in the chat occasionally, jump in, say hello, we're there, we're paying attention, and or check our social channels for updates. And we'll keep you posted. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Cheers.
Bye bye.